everyone, it's RB Kelly, Hawaii's body language boss, and I am really excited for what we've got for you today. This is Killing Small Talk. Conversational guidelines for interesting and engaging conversations with anyone, anywhere, anytime. I am really excited for this. So obviously you're already watching the extra link, but if you want, during this presentation, I would love to hear from you. Shout out to me on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn. Look for @BodyLanguageBoss, #BodyLanguageBossExtras. That will lead you right to me. But now let's dive in. So there are a lot of reasons to hate small talk. I'm sure all of you have experienced the dark side of small talk way more than once. First off, it's boring. You say the same thing over and over again. You're basically recycling the same lines over and over. And that is just, boring. The second reason is that it's fake and it's shallow. You can be having the worst day of your life, but when someone asks how you are, you'll paste on a fake smile and say, "Oh, I'm fine, great, thanks, how are you?" And no matter what they're going through, they'll say, "Oh yeah, fine, I'm good, thanks." It can be really fake. We edit our conversation and our small talk, and it makes it really hard to have genuine conversations. It can also be awkward and uncomfortable. You might even get rejected. A good example of this was featured in the 2006 movie She's the Man. You've got a boy and a girl out on a date, and they don't know what to say to each other. They sit in silence for a long time. Finally, the boy musters his courage and says, "So, do you like cheese?" And she totally slaps him down, totally leaves him hanging, and they sit in awkward silence for the rest of the conversation. It's horrible. And we have this same conversation going on in our minds that I'm going to say the wrong thing. It's going to be awkward. I don't know what to do. I don't know what to say. I hate talking to people. And with that going on and on in your head, it is really hard to have a good conversation. And I know this from personal experience. Growing up, I was actually the queen of awkward small talk. Yeah, sad face with a crown on top. I know all about the downfalls of awkward small talk. All right, I've been there. Growing up, I never knew what to say to people. It actually was so bad that my parents thought I was slightly autistic. I didn't know what to say to people. I couldn't find a way to connect with kids my age. I always felt isolated, insecure, and lonely. When I did manage to say something, you can be sure it was the wrong thing, and it made people feel uncomfortable or awkward or angry. I just didn't know what to say to people. So that led to me retreating into books. Books were always better friends than people. And I never knew what people were really thinking. What I did manage to say, I wasn't really sure how to read their reactions. But I had this feeling, this deep feeling that whatever they were thinking, it wasn't good, that they didn't like me, that I wasn't fitting in. And I felt incredibly isolated. And so all of this led to me being extremely anxious to talk to people. I hated talking to people. But things changed when I started studying body language. Now, they didn't change right away as soon as I cracked open a book. In fact, the first book my mom got me to help me with people skills was Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People for Teenage Girls. Pink cover and everything. And it actually didn't tell me anything I didn't already know, which led to me branching out even more. Finally, I found a book on body language in the school library. It's actually this book. And from what I know now, having studied body language and actually researched it, I know this isn't the greatest book, but it was the first book. If you're really looking for a good book on people skills, I would check out this one, Captivate by Vanessa Van Edwards. She actually trained me. She knows what she's talking about. But this first book made it so when I looked at people, I could basically check off their body language and sculpt a picture of what they were really thinking and how they were really feeling. For the first time, I could look at people and know what they thought about me. It totally blew my mind. I could tell just by looking. who was as nervous as I was. And I learned with my body language how to put people at ease so we could have better conversations. And I discovered that most of the awkwardness and the isolation that I was feeling, most of it was all in my head. And that really changed the way I saw the world. And something that led to this guide was that I could see which questions people actually enjoyed answering. And I could also see which questions people basically answered on autopilot. But then I got extra training, I got certified in body language, and I became the body language boss. And so this new knowledge of how to read people, how to help people, how to influence people totally gave me purpose. And I get to use my new skills every day to help all kinds of people. I get to help people who felt as awkward as I did. I get to help people who are trying to make sales or attract more clients in order to feed their families. If you look at who studies this and who has the research, you'll see that it's basically two groups of people who study and talk about body language. You have the scientists and the researchers who are actually watching the science develop in laboratories. They'll experiment with people, they'll watch what they do, and then they write books and studies about it. Then on the totally opposite end of the spectrum, you have secret agents, federal agents, CIA, FBI, who use these skills to actually influence people and persuade them to tell the truth, be able to read when they're lying. But most of this isn't available to the everyday people who actually need it the most. And so my mission has been bringing this information to the people who do need it the most, who just want to fit in, who just want to create more wealth, who just want to have more clients and build a better life for their families. So that's what I do. Now in my business, I focus on teaching on the business side of things, how to make more sales, attract more clients, give better customer service. But without fail, all of my coaching clients and even my workshop attendees tell me that even though they started studying body language for business, it has affected every other area of their life. Now when they go out in social settings with friends, they're able to completely read what everyone is thinking. They're able to totally change the way they interact with those friends. And their relationship with their families, with their spouses, have totally blossomed because they're able to read what's really going on under the surface. And they found new ways to communicate their love and appreciation for the people who matter most. And that, I really love being able to help with that and be able to provide that knowledge and that change for people. That's why I get up in the morning. But learning what I'd learned and knowing what I now know, I realized that small talk is actually incredibly important. We're about to dive into the light side of small talk. Small talk creates more genuine relationships. If you ever want to build a relationship with anybody, you have to talk to them. And that talk doesn't always flow easily. So being able to create good conversation out of no previous connection is really, really important. Let's think about this. There's a flow graph in front of you. Small talk helps you turn strangers into acquaintances. Think about it. When you meet a stranger, if you stay in your box and they stay in their box and you never interact, you're never going to be anything more than strangers to each other. But if you can get out of your box and they can get out of their box and you can interact and talk to each other, you can actually turn that stranger into an acquaintance or even a friend. And small talk helps you turn acquaintances into friends. It's one thing to know someone's face or their name, but it's totally different to know their priorities, their likes and dislikes, their dreams, their upcoming plans, and to know the way you fit together in the world. That is so cool and so powerful to be able to sit and talk to someone and then know where you fit together, know what you have in common, and build a relationship where before they were just a name or just a face. That is so cool to me. And the last thing it can do is it helps you renew and deepen friendships. Any relationship, basically. Have you ever had a situation where you used to be friends with someone and then they moved away or something happened where you were separated? And then you meet up later, maybe months, years, decades later, but you have no idea what to say to each other. And it used to be you were such good friends, but now in this moment, you have no idea what to say to them. And this, what could be a joyful, awesome reunion, turns into this awkward, quiet torture. Has that ever happened to you? If you knew what to say, if you knew how to use small talk, you would be able to deepen and renew that friendship, and you'd never have to face those awkward silences ever again. And that is my goal for you. So in this little guideline, you're going to figure out the easiest people to talk to. You're going to know the basic rules of conversation. You're going to know how to start the conversation, keep it going, and you're also going to have an exit strategy for good and bad conversations. And if you practice these guidelines, you will have amazing conversations. You will never have an awkward conversation ever again. Only awesome ones. So that said, I'm going to take a drink of water and then we're going to get started. All right. First, you want to choose an easy target. Now, there are some situations where you can't choose who you want to talk to. You have to talk to a certain person. But in order to practice, I want you to practice approaching people who are easy to talk to. So you are going to want to look for confident, comfortable body language. All right? So let's take a look. We've got someone who's sitting close together, a little bit awkward. We've got someone who is spreading out, taking up a lot of space. And we've got someone who is only medium claiming their space, about average, about in the middle ground. So which of these people do you think is going to be confident and comfortable and the easiest to talk to? And the reason you want comfortable, confident people is because they will carry the conversation if you get nervous. They will go with the flow. They won't freeze up at an awkward silence. They will help you feel comfortable, and they will find ways to continue the conversation even when you trip up. All right? So have you chosen the picture that's easiest to talk to? The easiest conversational targets are like the middle picture. All right? You can see they are comfortably, confidently claiming their space. All right? If you look at the one who's shrunken up like this, that's really defensive, uncomfortable body language. This person is probably nervous, and their nerves are going to make your nerves even worse. On the other hand, you have that person who's sprawling out, taking up a lot of room, looking totally confident, maybe a little too confident. That person might even seem cocky or arrogant, and so they might not be a good conversational partner for you either. The easiest conversational targets are comfortable and confident. So look for people with that middle body language. Now let's talk about the basic rules, all right? A lot of conversations go bad because someone says something not just stupid, but rude or inappropriate, or because your internal anxiety makes you freeze up. And I don't want that to happen to you, all right? Keep these guidelines in mind and you will do great. The first guideline is to be respectful of their person, of their space, of their time, and of their opinions. So you don't want to invade someone's space. You don't want to touch them when they don't want to be touched. You don't want to waste their time, and you don't want to be rude about their opinions. Because there are over 7 billion people in the world, all of them are going to disagree with you on something. So if you can't be respectful to people who disagree with you, you are going to have a problem with everybody. And those are not good odds for you. So even if you disagree, you can still be respectful and still have a really good conversation. Even on those crazy divisive topics like religion and politics, you can disagree on those and still have a really good conversation. The next thing you want to do is be kind. In your opinions, even if they disagree, you want to be kind in your actions to them and in your thoughts to them. If you're thinking, wow, this person is such an idiot, that's going to come out in your body language and they're going to sense it. And that's not going to make you a good conversational partner. So you need to be kind in your words, in your opinions, in your actions, and in your thoughts. That is what's going to make you a really easy person to talk to. The third thing is to be brave. Don't listen to your inner anxieties. Don't listen to your inner doubts. Share your truth. Share your vulnerabilities. And ask for what you want. The worst they can do is say no. All right? And that's not such a bad thing. If they say no, you're exactly where you were before you had the conversation. So keep that in mind. Be respectful, be kind, and be brave. Now, after you know the guidelines and you've picked out a target, sometimes we still freeze at this part of the game. There's a part of us that thinks our opening line has to be magnificent. We agonize over it as if it's going to be engraved on our gravestone, right? It's going to stay with us forever. And that's simply not true. We waste a lot of time looking to find a witty, clever, trendy, sparkling conversation opener. But the truth is, people usually actually aren't listening to you for the first couple of seconds. So if you tell a joke, by the time you get to the punchline, they've already missed the initial setup. And the reason that is we can hear people talking all around us, but we don't really know someone is talking to us until our brain notices, oh, this person appears to be talking to me. Then we swing over and we engage. Usually that takes a couple seconds to happen. So you want to make sure your opening line is bland, because they might miss the first half or third of it, all right? So keep it simple, keep it classic. There are two options for this. You can use a classic, which is basically, hey, how are you? Or, hi, I'm Arby. Or you can look around for context. Wherever you are, they're experiencing it with you, all right? So whether you're walking in the rain, standing in a concert, in a line at a retail store, sitting in a movie theater, wherever you are, they are too. So whatever is going on around you, they're experiencing it too. And that instantly gives you something in common. So you're able to ask, hey, how's the food? Or, oh, have you been to this event before? Or, wow, this line is pretty crazy, isn't it? And that is just something to remark on. And they can say, yeah, it is. Or, you know, it's pretty great. You should try this. Or they can say, no, I haven't been to this event before. And you can say, hey, me neither. We can just stick together until we figure it out. Or you can say, hey, I've been here a couple times. Let me show you the best people or show you the best spots. Whatever it is. Now you're talking. So let's get to the meat and potatoes of this section, all right? This is where the science comes in. This is really cool. So, when you are asked something, or when something comes up that surprises you, there's a burst of dopamine in your brain. Dopamine is a hormone that makes you feel good. It's the pleasure hormone. It's what happens when you are addicted to things and you get a hit. Like every time you get a Facebook notification, or you can see you got a bunch of likes, you get a hit of dopamine and your brain is like, ha, keep it coming. That happens every time something good or something new or surprising happens. This is actually why jokes make us laugh. Jokes set up a pattern. So the first 2 or 3 things follow a pattern, and then in the punchline, something twists, something surprising happens, which gives you a hit of dopamine, which makes you laugh. It feels good. People also get dopamine when they get to share their opinion. All right? Talking about something you think feels good. Being able to tell people what's what or explain how things are, that feels really good. All right? So when you ask surprising questions that invite people to share their opinions, people are going to love talking to you, because you are basically going to give them addictive conversation. They are going to love this. It's going to be great. So ask good, interesting, engaging, unique questions that make people think and invite them to share their opinions. All right? And this is important because the person you're talking to has talked to thousands of people before. all right? They have asked and answered the same boring questions over and over again. So if you want to become a faceless, brainless zombie, blending in with the mass of humanity they've already spoken to, if you want to be totally forgettable, by all means, ask boring questions. But if you want to stand out, if you want to be memorable and create conversations and relationships literally out of nothing, then wake up, shake things up, ask something new. All right, so below you've got multiple choice question. Which of these answers is going to spark the most interesting conversation? Which of these answers is going to release dopamine in your target's brain? So option A, what do you do? Boring. Hope you didn't choose that. Option B, where are you from? You've answered before. Hope you didn't choose that one. Option C, what brings you here? You've also answered that before. But option D, what personal passion projects are you working on? I want you to actually think about that for a second. Pull up the answer in your mind. What personal projects are you working on? See what happens there? You actually have to think. You have to actually think and dig in, and then you have to decide which personal passion project you're going to share. And so you've made them think, you've surprised them, and you're asking them to share their opinion and share something personal, share something cool. That creates dopamine. That is addictive conversation. So, now I don't want you to think that all boring questions are bad. All right, it is okay to ask boring questions, but I don't want you to make a habit of it, okay? Here are some of the pros for boring questions. Boring questions are better than awkward silences. So if you have the choice between awkward silence or boring question, choose boring question. At least you're still talking. Boring questions can be brought to life by humorous or heartfelt answers. So if someone asks you a boring question, you can still have sparkling conversation by giving a humorous or heartfelt answer, an interesting answer, something out of the box to surprise them. And boring questions can be good introductions to better questions. For example, where are you from leads nicely into what's one thing visitors ought to do when they visit your hometown. All right, that's a really nice lead-in from boring question that you've been asked multiple times to better question that forces people to think and share their opinion. And boring questions do give you time to think of something else to say if you're struggling to think of something else to say. And whether you ask boring questions or interesting questions, I want you to show genuine interest in the answers of your target. Even if they give boring answers and boring questions, if you show them genuine interest, it will give them the courage to branch out, to be more honest, to be more engaging. And that's really, really important. So it's okay to ask boring questions, but don't make a habit of it. Here we have a list of 2 different typical conversations. One is boring. I can guess that you've probably been asked every question in Conversation A multiple times. Think back to your last event where you met someone new. You can probably check off almost every question on Conversation A, right? Those are hardly good questions. Those are all been there, done that questions. But look at Conversation B. I'm actually going to read them out, and I want you to think of what your answer would be. All right, number 1, what's your story? What's been the highlight of your week so far? Are you working on any cool new projects? What's one activity people ought to do when they visit your hometown? What do you love most about your work? What's your favorite way to relax? Now, if I was to go through and ask you, what brings you here? How are you? What do you do? Where are you from? How'd you get into that line of work? Are you married? Have any kids? There probably wouldn't spark a lot in your brain. But Conversation B, at least a couple of those sparked something in your brain that you would actually like to talk about. You would actually like to tell people about that because it's cool. So conversation B, these are the types of questions I want you to be asking and answering in your conversations. These are the types of questions that are going to give you amazing conversations, all right? I actually sat down and did a brain dump where I put down as many interesting questions as I could think of. Now, when I was in college, I discovered body language, I was practicing body language, but I hadn't found any really reliable information. It was basically a couple of books and the internet. And so I was still kind of struggling with feeling confident and comfortable with people. But I was lonely, and so I wanted to get a boyfriend, wanted to get a husband, so I was still going on a lot of dates. But I knew that in the moment I might choke. I might have awkward conversations. So I actually got a jar just like this. And I wrote down the coolest questions I could think of. And I put them on sticky notes and I folded them up and I put them in the jar and I made a pretty little like screw top for it so it looked cutesy and whatever. But I would actually take that jar on dates with me. Group dates, solo dates, whatever. If the conversation started to falter, I would bring out that jar. And we would play a game where we would all pick a question and we could ask either one person or the whole group, and the conversation would just flourish. All right, some of my best, easiest dates are thanks to that conversation jar. So what I actually want you to do is find a way to save the questions that you like the most, all right? Because you're probably not going to remember them really well after this is over. If you don't save these, this has happened to me. I'll think, oh, that's a really great question to ask people. And then I'll go out into the real world and get into a situation where I can actually use it. And I'll think, oh gosh, oh, how are you? Oh, what was that question? So what do you do? Oh man, it was such a good question. I can't think of it. And what brings you here? And I would have horrible small talk while I was trying to remember that cool question that could break open the conversation. I don't want that to happen to you. So either screenshot, share it with yourself, whatever you have to do, save your favorite questions. You actually get bonus points for this if you go till the end of the slideshow here. But I'm going to go through, I'm going to put on my glasses so I can see this far. And I'm going to read these to you, and I want you to, again, think of the ones that you would actually like to be asked, that you would like to answer. So what's your current favorite TV or book character, and why? What cool plans do you have for the weekend? Or what's your favorite time period in history? Now this next one, it's important to keep in mind the respect and kindness. If you were elected president, what would you focus on in your first 100 days? What's your love story? If you're not sure if someone's married or not, what's your love story? If you were stranded on a deserted island, what person or object would you want with you? When I answered this, I actually answered this one in a Toastmasters competition. And my answer was that I wanted a giant pile of gold and a fully gassed Black Hawk helicopter so I could start a pirate empire. That's not a conversation you normally have when you're first meeting someone. That's really cool. If you could have any animal as a pet, which animal would it be? Now, when I was growing up, I actually read a book about a kid who had a pet shark who could fly. And so he just had this pet shark flying around with him. It was really cool. I think I might go for that. What's one piece of futuristic sci-fi technology that you wish we had now? Or if you could drive any vehicle in the world, what would it be and why? What's one thing on your bucket list? I want to be a certified skydiver. I think that would be so cool. If you could have anyone in the world as a dinner guest, who would it be? What tasty restaurants have you visited lately? What's one thing you wish you were taught in school? I have mixed feelings about this one because I wish I'd been taught people skills, but if public schools actually taught that, I would be out of business, so mixed bag there. What's one of your favorite songs or artists? What's one of your secret hobbies or talents? I love to sing. Yeah, I had the choice between going into singing or going into body language, and I chose body language, but someday I'm going to break out into the singing world. If you could magically gain one new character trait or skill that would change your life, what would it be? What adventures have you been on recently? Have you ever had a close brush with danger? Where do you go to relax and rejuvenate? Who's your favorite relative and why? Who has been one of your most inspiring role models? If you were to be famous, what would you want to be famous for and why? What's something you're grateful for today? What's your favorite kind of weather? Growing up, my mom we had a swing on the porch, and during thunderstorms, she would bring us all out and we would sit on the swing and we would smell the rain, we would smell the sagebrush, and we would just watch the dark, thunderous clouds, and it was so cool. And to this day, I still love storm clouds and stormy weather. I just love it. And I love the smell of rain just because of that. So I think you could tell the difference in this conversation versus the conversations you've had previously. You get a lot more personal answers. You get to know people in 3D. It's like they come to life. And speaking of coming to life, there's such a thing as a small talk zombie. And this is something you've experienced before. This is something you've even been before. Small talk zombies kill conversations, and they kill relationships, and they kill business before it ever has a chance to start. All right? Don't be a small talk zombie. Here's what a small talk zombie looks like. Small talk zombies only ask boring questions. And they only give shallow, polite, indifferent, or boring answers. They basically suck the life out of a conversation. All right? And then there are two different types of small talk zombies. Either they hog the conversation and eat your brains, or they don't say anything. They leave you hanging and they let the conversation die. Don't be a small talk zombie. All right, we talked about the light side of small talk and the dark side of small talk. These are basically the Sith of conversations, all right? Don't be a small talk zombie. Number 5. So you know what questions to ask, but if you were to take your sheet where you wrote down your favorite answers and just check it as you talk to someone, oh, what's your story? Check. Oh, what's one thing people ought to do when they visit your hometown? Check. What would be your favorite animal as a pet and why? Check. You don't want to just go down the list. That's more like an interrogation than a conversation. You actually want to be able to keep the conversation going and experience flow back and forth naturally. This is the part where conversations really take off. So here are a couple different strategies to create that flow, okay? 1, look for things that you have in common. And since you're asking interesting questions, you're going to have a lot more to pick based on that. They're giving you more personal, more interesting answers. So you're able to find a lot more that you have in common. And when you find something, mention it. All right? You know that phrase, birds of a feather flock together? That's actually a thing. That's actually real. So for example, oh, your pet cat likes to snuggle in the laundry. Yeah, my dogs do that all the time. That's something you have in common. Or, oh, you're planning a vacation to this one place. How exciting. I used to live there. Or, oh yeah, I went there last year and we did this. What are you planning to do? And that leads me to my next tip. You want to end your answers with a question to swing the conversation back to them. Oh, your pet cat snuggles in your laundry. My dog does that too. How did you and your cat become acquainted? Then they're either going to tell you that they inherited the cat or adopted the cat from a rescue or got it as a kid. And you've got 3 different options that you could talk about inheritances. You could talk about how baby animals are cute, but man, they grow up fast. And isn't that puppy stage really awful? Or you can talk about adoption. Wow, isn't it so sad that we have so many animals in shelters? I think it's so cool you adopted. You've got different conversations going there. Or you can say, oh, you're planning a vacation to the place we used to live. What are you going to plan to do there? Have you been there before? What's your favorite part? What are you looking forward to the most? And that keeps the conversation going. That is when you've attained flow. That is gold right there. That's how you know you have a good conversation. When you don't have to keep looking at your list, you're able to just bounce back and forth off of each other. Another strategy. This isn't so much of a strategy as it is something to watch for. I want you to watch for conversational equality. All right? You want to have fairly equal talking time. And I'm not saying that it's I have 30 seconds, then you have 30 seconds, then I have 30 seconds, then you have 30 seconds. No. You'll have some people give long answers and short answers. And sometimes you'll have people who it's really give and take. What you want to watch out for is when you are hogging the conversation or they are hogging the conversation. And there's a couple different options depending on which one it is. If they're hogging the conversation, it is totally okay for you to interrupt more and to give extra long answers because they are used to jumping into the conversation. That's normal for them. That's polite for them. So unless you want to let them be a small talk zombie, you have to fight for more room in the conversation. On the other hand, if you're the one hogging the conversation, you need to shut up, all right? Ask more questions, talk less, let them get a word in edgewise. And, okay, if you're downloading this from my website, you're probably not the one hogging the conversation. I don't get that from you. But if a friend sent this to you, maybe this is a hint that maybe you sometimes hog the conversation. Whatever it is, watch out for conversational equality, all right? The best conversations are when you both give and take fairly equally. But things get pretty rough when one person hogs all of the talking time. So don't be that person. The other thing you want to have conversational equality with is vulnerability, honesty. If one person shares something really personal and the other person doesn't, that's actually a really good way to create awkwardness in the conversation. If you want to deepen the connection, when someone shares something vulnerable, you share something vulnerable. It can be totally different, but that honesty is a really good sign in a conversation. You also want to tell stories and examples to keep things interesting. Studies show we actually did brain scans of storytellers and story listeners. And we found when they were telling a story, the brain waves of the teller and the listeners would actually match. You would see activity in the same areas of the brain at the same time. So literally, you're on the same brain wave, all right? So telling stories is a really good way to build rapport with someone and get on the same page. Now, something that happens that sometimes trips us up, or at least it would trip me up, was I would ask a question, they would answer it, and then I would wait for them to ask it back. And if they didn't ask a question, I wouldn't say anything. It was like I was needing their permission to speak, kind of. You don't need that, all right? If you ask a question, they give a good answer, and then they don't ask a question, you can just start talking. Share what your answer would be. Share something that their answer made you think of. Go off on the conversation, all right? You don't need their permission to speak again. Now, if you want to make sure you're not talking to someone who doesn't want to talk to you, that's when you would want to look at their body language. That's when you would want to book a session with me or come to one of my workshops so you can figure out exactly what their body language is saying. Because that's going to be way more honest than any of their answers. But for the most part, assume they want to talk to you as long as you're being respectful of their time. Now, another good guideline to keep the conversation going is to be genuine and vulnerable. Nobody is perfect, okay? Nobody is perfect all the time. Nobody is really perfect at all. But we have this pressure to put on a social mask where we are 100% happy and on top of things all the time. Ah! And that's just so not true. So not true. When we show honesty, heartfeltness, vulnerability, people actually like us more. It's like if you were to imagine people as like fortresses or castles, it's like we let down the gate and invited them across the moat. And it's showing them, I'm opening myself up to you. And that's really important. One of the things we hated most about bad small talk was that it was fake. And so in order to have good conversation, you need to stop being fake. And that comes by being genuine and being vulnerable. If you've been dragged to a party by a friend and you're having an awful time, and someone asks, "How are you?" or "How do you like it?" tell them. You don't have to be rude about it, but you can say, "This is really not my scene. I'm just here for my friend." And the same thing might be true for them. Or they might go out of their way to help you have a better time. Whatever it is, if you were to just say, "Oh yeah, I'm having a great time, thanks so much," they're totally going to be able to read that you're being fake. And that kills the conversation. That makes you the small talk zombie. So don't do that. Good conversational partners will like you more for your honesty. And I'll be honest, there are a couple of jerks in the world who, if you are real, will try and punish you for it. But that's only because they don't have the guts to be honest themselves. And they'll show their true colors really quick, so you don't have to deal with them ever again. It's a really smart thing to be honest and vulnerable. Now, you don't want to share all of your life secrets all at once, but sharing a little bit is a really good way to build a genuine connection. And if you share something vulnerable and they don't reciprocate, that's a good sign that they're not as into the conversation as you are. But if you share something and then they share something, that's a really good way to show that you've established rapport. Now, I wasn't going to include this, but this is actually something that can kind of be used against you in a way. This is mainly done by predators, con artists, that kind of people, where they will share some fake sob story that makes you feel like they're really trusting you, they're being so honest and upfront with you, and that creates this sense of obligation where you feel like you have to be nice to them, or you have to help them out, or you have to share something in return, and they're basically manipulating you, and don't let them do that. So if you're talking to someone and you don't want to be talking to someone, and you feel like they're manipulating you or anything, get out of there, okay? But on the most part, for most people in most conversations, being genuine and vulnerable and sharing more about yourself is a really, really good way to build good conversation, all right? Moving on. So let's get into the exit strategy. Even the best conversations have to come to an end. And sometimes the worst conversations need to be helped into an early grave. But it helps to know in advance if you want to deepen the connection or get the heck out of Dodge, all right? I'm going to start at the very beginning, assuming that the conversation went really well and you really like this person and you'd like to meet again. All right. So in order to deepen the connection, you're going to offer to meet again. That might be face-to-face, might be a phone call, might be virtually. Whatever it is, you extend the offer. This offer is most likely to succeed if you pair it with something you either discussed already or that you had in common. So if you both have kids around the same age who like playgrounds or who like libraries, offer to do a kiddie play date together and make plans to make it happen. Or maybe you both love golf, make plans to meet at the golf course. Or maybe, I don't know, whatever it is, make plans again. And it doesn't have to be face-to-face. It might be they recommended a movie or a new restaurant. Get their contact information so you can tell them what you thought after you go. That's still a really great way to connect with someone and deepen the conversation, deepen the connection. And then if they say, "Yeah, I'd love that," then you ask for their contact information. Get the phone number, the email, the business card, the social media, whatever it is, get their information. And then say goodbye. It was great meeting with you. I'll call you about this thing. Have an awesome day. That's all you have to do. And then the most important part is to actually follow up. If you meet someone, have a great connection, make plans, and don't follow through, that fourth failure negates all the previous successes. So don't quit at the finish line. Power all the way through and follow through with them. That is what will really turn this acquaintance into a friend. Let's say it was an okay conversation, but you don't really care to continue or deepen the connection. That's fine. Now, there are two strategies in order to end this conversation, and one of them is the small talk zombie strategy. And what zombies will do is, as soon as they're done in a conversation, instead of saying goodbye or "I enjoyed our conversation," they will just shut down. and start shutting you out. They will just start giving shorter and shorter answers, or giving monotone answers, or they'll stop asking you questions. And that is their cop-out way of ending the conversation. I don't want you to do that, all right? The best way is to lead up to goodbye and then say goodbye. So here are some options to lead up to goodbye. One of the best ways is to talk about future plans. So where are you headed after this? Oh, I've got to be at this thing in a couple minutes. I really better run. You know, I've got a mountain of stuff waiting for me. I've really enjoyed our conversation, but I've just got to go. Good luck with your thing later. Or I'd better get moving. And then after that lead up to goodbye, just say goodbye. Have an awesome week. See you later. Or this is something I use if I'm in a networking group and I'm finished talking to someone and I don't just want to say goodbye forever and then encounter them later and be like, oh, this is awkward. We've already said goodbye. You might just say goodbye for now. Like, I'm going to get some drinks or some air or to use the restroom. I might circle back later. Good luck, or have a good time. That's something I use if I might circle back or see them again later. Or I might just say, good luck with your thing. Bye. Good luck with your upcoming, maybe they're doing a webinar. Maybe they're working on some Pinterest project. Whatever it is. Just say good luck with your thing. Bye. And now you've led up to goodbye and you've said goodbye and you can walk away. There's actually body language that makes this part so much easier. But again, if you want to learn about that, come talk to me. I can help you with that. This is for those conversations with people who just won't quit. They're not malicious, but they're stubborn. It's almost as if they're trying to browbeat you into doing what they want. And with these people, it might be they're trying to sell you something, they're trying to convince you to do something, or they just want to tell you their life story, and you don't really want to hear it. But with these people, you've tried politeness, and it isn't working. When that happens, when politeness isn't working, you have permission to be increasingly more blunt, all right? And so for me, this would be interrupting or talking over them. Now, growing up, I was trained not to interrupt, all right? My parents had 7 kids, and in order to have some adult conversations, we were trained we do not interrupt. So this is something I have really had to give myself permission to do. If I'm talking to someone and they're going on and on and on, I will eventually interrupt and talk over them. I have to in order to get a word in edgewise. But once that happens and you make your stand, don't back down. Now, there are 2 principles about telling someone you've had enough. One is to say it rudely with aggressive body language just to get it through their thick skull. That one kind of burns a lot of bridges. It's a final resort, but I don't find I've ever actually had cause to use it. The second one, my personal preferred strategy, is to use kind, gentle, friendly body language that says, I'm leaving now, along with firm words. So your body language is 12.5 times more powerful than your words, all right? So if you have rude body language, people are going to think you're a rude person. They're going to think you're a jerk. But if you have friendly and kind body language, even if your words are a little bit rude, people are still going to think you're being kind and friendly because that's what your body language is saying. So here are some lines that you can use when people are just not accepting that you don't want to do this, or that you don't want to talk to them, that you're done talking to them. I see someone I really have to talk to. Please excuse me. I'd rather, or if they're trying to tell you to sell you something or make you do something, I'd rather not. That's not a good fit for me. No, thank you. I'll let you know if that works for me. It doesn't right now. Until then, goodbye. Or this isn't a good time for me. If that changes, I'll let you know for sure. See you later. Whatever you say, stick to it. Now, if you shout at someone and scream, either they're going to back down or you're going to get into a fight, all right? But it doesn't usually end very prettily. What I found with my method, where you the kill it with kindness method, is I might have to repeat the thing 2 or 3 times, but I can do it kindly and gently, and they get the point. So for example, someone's trying to sell me something. and I say, I don't know if that's a good fit for me, and they take that as an invitation to tell me why it's a good fit. I can say, this really isn't a good time for me, but I'll keep you in mind. They take that as an invitation to talk about why this is a great time, and I can say, I'll let you know. This isn't something I'm ready to move forward on right now, but I'll keep you in mind if that changes. Thank you. Thank you and goodbye. And anytime after that, if they keep talking, I'll just say, no thank you. No thank you. No thank you. And usually I only have to say no 2, maybe 3 times at the max. Most people respect it at the very first time. For those extra stubborn people, you might need to say it 2 or 3 times. But as long as your message stays the same, they will get it. And you didn't have to shout at anyone or burn any bridges to do it. I have it frequently where I am still on excellent relations with the people that I have used this strategy to get out of a conversation with. So this works. If you don't want to burn the relationship, this is your strategy. Now sometimes, like I mentioned earlier, people are trying to take advantage of you. They are actually trying to threaten or hurt or accost you. And in that case, politeness gets thrown out the window, all right? If someone is actually trying to hurt you or cause you pain, you do not have any obligation to play nice with them at all. And I've noticed, especially with women, we feel like it's almost like we've been programmed to be nice and friendly and warm. Even when we're alone with someone in a dark parking lot and we are creeped out, we're still going to be friendly and nice because we want to be nice. That mindset gets people killed. All right? And there's a great book. If this is something you struggle with, if you feel like you have to be nice to people, even if they're creeping you out or threatening you, I want you to read this book. It's called The Gift of Fear by Gavin de Becker. You can find it on Amazon. You can find it anywhere. It is a fabulous read. I actually bought this book for myself, and then I gave it to my mom because she needed it so much. This is a book to keep you safe. So if someone is actually trying to hurt you, not listening when you say no, you don't actually have to say anything. You can just turn and leave. But if you want to say something, I've compiled a few swear word free options for you. Feel free to spice them up if you need to. But you can simply say, I don't want to talk right now. Please leave me alone. Go away. Back off. You're really out of line, buddy. Watch it. I've had enough. Now, usually I like to teach body language with this because the words by themselves really aren't that powerful. If you were to say, go away, that wouldn't send a very strong message. But if you were to say, go away, that sends a really different message. There are actually body language cues you can use that some cues say, I'm a good victim, please don't hurt me. And some cues say, if you mess with me, I will mess you up. And I help you to know which cues are which. So there are some times when you need to act like a predator in order to stay safe. Or you need to know what predators look like in order to keep your family and your kids safe. But anyway, when you have to kill it with fire, get out of there. If someone tries to stop you, get free by whatever means necessary, all right? One of the things on my bucket list is actually to start a program to help women, because women tend to suffer from this the most, to help women have self-defense strategies and skills in order to keep them safe. Some statistics say that as many as 3 out of 4 women will suffer a sexual assault in their lifetime. And that's not a statistic I'm okay with, which is why this is so personal for me and so passionate to me. So if you know a woman in your life, get her this book. And if you think, oh, people aren't that scary, you're probably a man. And in that case, you need to get this book and read it and then give it to a woman in your life. Anyway, I'm off my soapbox now and I'm moving on. In summary, I want you to approach people with confident, comfortable body language. They'll be the easiest to talk to. And when you're using confident, comfortable body language yourself, you're easier to talk to as well. I want you to be respectful and kind and brave. And I want you to just start talking, but don't focus too much on the opening line because they're not going to remember it. And then I want you to ask interesting questions, and I want you to have certain strategies to keep the conversation going and have a really good conversation. And finally, you've learned how to have an exit strategy for good and bad conversations. So thank you for watching. We're almost over. I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I hope you learned a lot. If you would like to learn more about how I can help you in your personal life, in your business life, in your romantic life, then go ahead and click through the slides because I've got a lot to offer. So 1, if you want to get free content regularly, follow me on social media. I put out a lot of free content all the time. You can follow me on Facebook, Instagram, or LinkedIn at Body Language Boss. All right, the links are right in front of you. I would love to have you there on my page, all right? Maybe you want something a little extra, a little secret. If you become a subscriber, you actually get secret discounts to all of my events. And you also get my insider tips, you get insider solutions, you get a lot of sweet, sweet information. So if you want to become a subscriber, I send out a weekly newsletter, and it is basically awesomeness in your inbox. So click on the link and check it out. If you want even more, if you want to actually practice these skills face to face, and you want to really dive into the actual body language cues that people are reading from you, I host really awesome workshops. In these workshops, you will actually get to laugh. There's a lot of laughing. You'll get to learn, and you will actually get to practice these skills with other attendees. And I'm right there if you have any questions at all. I am here for you. And so these workshops are done face to face, but I also record them. So maybe you're on the other side of the world, or maybe you've got a business event that day and you can't make it. You can still get a recording after the fact, all right? I want this to be totally accessible for you. Finally, maybe you need some practice, all right? It's one thing to say, okay, I've got a strategy for small talk. It's another to look a stranger in the eye and come up with something to say. So if you want a safe place to practice, I designed a service where if you schedule at bit.ly/smalltalkwitharby, we actually set up a time to call. And I'll call you and we'll practice small talk. And if you choke or you have a problem or you're not sure if this is working, you can just ask me and I'll be right there to help you through it. And we'll have an amazing conversation, and I know you'll do great, all right? If you'd like to practice that, sign up at bit.ly/smalltalkwitharby. It'll be great. And finally, I hope you'll pass on what you've learned today. Share the awesomeness and fight small talk zombies. I know you know someone who is, or, I know you know someone who is a small talk zombie. Let's just say it like it is. But if you want to help them, maybe there's someone who's awkward with everybody. Maybe there's someone who just got into a sales job and has no idea how to talk to strangers. Maybe there's somebody who's really confident in private but totally bombs in public, or totally bombs when they're talking to someone of the opposite sex. They need your help, okay? Share this with them. Send them the link to the homepage where they can download the slideshow and the narration, and you'll really be doing them a favor. You'll be their small talk hero, and that is for sure. You can do that by visiting bodylanguageboss.com/cool-beans, because this is cool beans, right? Finally, if you made it all the way to the end, here are some bonus points for you, all right? Are you up for a challenge? If you are, find me on social media and answer one of the questions below. So, option A, what was your favorite part of this guide? Option B, who do you know who is a small talk zombie? And if you're feeling brave, go ahead and tag them. Option C, when is your next opportunity to use this guide? Or option D, what is your new favorite small talk question? All right, go ahead and find me on social media at bodylanguageboss, #bodylanguageboss, #bodylanguagebossextras, and I would love to talk with you online. All right, everyone, this concludes the presentation. I really hope you've learned a lot. I hope you follow through, and I hope you decide to learn more, because you are worth it. You and I, we are human beings. We're actually social creatures, and this social connection is incredibly important to us. It is my sincere belief that body language And good nonverbal communication is one of the most important skills you will ever learn. It totally has changed my life. I went from being autistic or being thought of as autistic and not knowing how to talk to anybody to now I can talk to anybody, anytime, anywhere, about anything. It has totally changed my life, and I want that for you. So I hope you find the courage, you find the determination to take steps, to learn more, and to totally revolutionize your body language skills and your people skills. Thank you everyone for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you follow through with it. Have an awesome week, and shout out to me on social media. See you later, guys. Bye.